Hi, I'm Emily Thompson.
And I'm Emily Carpenter.
And we're so excited to present to you Too Good to Not Believe.
Hi, I'm Mary. I'm going to share my testimony, which is too good not to believe. All right, I've been saved for a few years. Before that, I was a housewife. I did volunteer work all through the county in Maryland. And I was a good person, so why do I need God? Why do I need Jesus? I mean, I was fine. And then my mother's Japanese, so that means I'm half Japanese. So we joined a Buddhist organization out of Washington, D.C. What appealed to us was world peace. And they kept saying, world peace can be achieved by one person at a time. So we thought, that'll work. So we began to have meetings at our house, and every Friday we would go out and we would witness. Well, they call it witness in the Christian circles, but there they called it shakabuku, which is Japanese to tell your testimony to other people and invite them to your house for your meetings. So Buddhism required every morning and evening you would open this cabinet, and it had a scroll in it. They called it the universal law that created everything. And they believed in Buddhism that there's 10 worlds, heaven and hell exists in each person. And they also believed is once you die, you can be recreated. It's called karma. Whatever you do in this life, if you do good works, you could come back as a human, maybe with a better status in life. Or if you were really rough in this life, you could come back as a rock. So I couldn't figure that out. I just kept going, wait, I'm a human, and if I die, if I make a mistake in this life, or if I do good in this life, then I could be better in the next life. We stopped Buddhism after 8 years. It just got really controlling. They had requirements for you to do, so you could never meet their requirements. Like you had to go to the temple in DC once a week, and then you had to participate in other activities. You had to go out each week and share Buddhism teachings to other people and invite them to your house. So it became very controlling, and we just thought, we're kind of done with this. It didn't answer my questions of the why. Money became my husband's God. He has his own company, and we moved to an upper middle class neighborhood in the 90s, and my daughter met a neighbor, and she started going to this church with a youth group, and we're like, okay, she can go to that stuff, but it's not for us. I'm a great person. I don't need God in my life. And for her 16th birthday in March, we were like, what do you want for your birthday? She's like, I want you to come to church. And we're like, no, we'll buy you a truck. You want that truck? We'll get you the truck. And she's like, no, I just want you to go to church with me. So my husband and I looked at each other. Okay, we'll try this. Don't need God. Remember, I don't need God. I never broke the law. I didn't kill anyone. I didn't steal. So my life was clean. So we go to church, and it's like, okay, this was kind of boring, but we went for her sake. Came home, my husband and I are like, what do you think? And we're like, maybe we should go to a church that they don't raise their hands and all that and just say we've gone to church. So about 3 weeks later, I decided to go back. I don't know what it was. Went to Sunday school. Everyone was really nice. And at the church service at the end, the pastor said, there's someone in here that doesn't know the Lord. And the church was probably about 300 people at that time. And I just felt this rush come over me in my heart, and this pounding in my heart. And I'm like, he goes, well, let's all bow our heads and our eyes are closed. Is there anyone in here? I just feel there's one person that needs to come to Jesus. And my heart kept racing, and all of a sudden these tears rush out, and my eyes are wide open. I'm not closing my eyes or bowing my head. And I looked around. He goes, well, if you feel like you need Jesus, raise your hand. And all of a sudden my hand went like this, and I went, this is weird. This guy who was like 6'4", 250 pounds, whips around, and I knew all eyes were closed and heads were bowed, and all I could do was cry. He whips around and says, you just accepted Jesus in your life. I'm like, I didn't know. My heart was racing and tears kept coming out, and all I did was, okay. And then he says, well, just wait here. Service was over, and he says, Pastor, this woman accepted Christ. And I don't even know what that meant. I just knew that there was this heart thing going on in my heart. So he says, well, come up here. And he's like, everybody, this young lady accepted Christ. And I'm just still going, all these people surrounded me. They started putting their hands on me and praying. I guess it was prayer. They were just like all cheering and everything. And all I could do was stand there and just weep. I didn't understand what was going on in my brain. And after it was done, they're like, I was the first adult that came to Christ in that church in like 4 years. The young people were coming to Christ and all these things, and they were growing in the youth group, but there were no adults. And so I was the first. So the pastor said to his youth pastor, go get a book of salvation. And I'm thinking, what? What just happened? And I just kept weeping. And so she comes back with a book, and since I was the only adult that came to the Lord, it was a coloring book of what just happened to me accepting Christ. I'm like, okay. I still didn't understand it in my brain, but I knew my heart was starting to settle and be at peace. I go home on Sundays when you work 6 days. My husband was in bed still, and this was after 12 noon. And I said, Don, you gotta get up, you gotta get up. And he's like, why? Like, you have to hear what happened to me. He sat up and he looked at me and said, did you just have a religious experience? I said, I don't know. And so I said, we have to go to church. There was an evening service. Evening service comes around. Dawn's with me, my husband. The girls are there and everything, sitting with the youth group. And the pastor at the end says, I'm doing an altar call. Anyone who has unsaved, which means people who haven't come to Christ, relatives, come on up and pray for them up here, and I'll join you in prayer. So I pushed my husband out of the aisle. He still didn't even know the Lord, and I don't even know what happened. I just went, go pray for our son. Next thing I know, he's standing up there with the pastor has his arm around my husband, leading him to the Lord. And I still didn't understand what happened. So the youth pastor came to me and she said, I'll tell you what, why don't I disciple you? And I'm like, well, what's that? She said, well, just meet me in my office tomorrow. The next time I'm driving and I'm saying, what is going on? I just know that my heart is at peace. And I went in and I was just talking like I don't even know if it was God or anything, because I didn't really need God, see? But my heart was at peace. So I'm just like, what's going on? And all of a sudden I started talking in another language, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? So I get to the office and she goes, oh, you received the baptism of the Holy Spirit and you have your prayer language. I'm like, what? So through that was like a 4-year time period. All of a sudden we did everything in the church. You name it, we did it. And we were just so thankful just to serve in the church. And then in about 1999, we were at a convention. It was the Brownsville revival that happened in 1995, and they were taking that out on the road. So we all met at Penn State for a big convention. And during the convention, this evangelist named Steve Hill was talking. And he's like, if you're called here, or this or that or this, and all of a sudden my heart started racing again. Now this is like 4 years after I became a Christian, started knowing the Lord, started reading the Bible, understanding what a prayer language was, and just started feeling a lot of peace in my life. And so we go to this convention, and then we're at lunch with friends, and they're like, you guys are called to the school of ministry, aren't you? And my husband and I went, what? I heard that, and my husband heard that at the same time. So within like about 3 months, we sold everything, our cars, our house, our stuff, and we went down to Florida and entered into Revival School of Ministry. Then the adventures began. Since knowing Christ, I've traveled to 15 nations ministering. I've got to talk to everyone about Jesus. I've had the best adventures. It's better than partying, and I have a lot of peace in my life. But the thing is, I could tell you all about Christ, but would you really know what that's like? Here comes the other part. I brought some props for you. I could say to you, this apple is really great. And it's juicy, but a little tart. But if you've never tasted it and seen for yourself what it tastes like, how would you know? So I always compare that to Christ. If you really just taste and see who Christ is in your life, feel the peace in your mind and your body, in your heart, then you'll know and you'll fall more in love with him every day. That's it. Done.
Thank you for watching episode 2 of Too Good to Not Believe. If this touched you, hit the like button, share with a friend, and subscribe.